In 1889, a man collapsed in a street in Turin, Italy, sobbing as he threw his arms around a horse being whipped by its owner. He was carried home. He never spoke a coherent sentence again for the rest of his life. That man had, just years earlier, written some of the most influential philosophy in human history, including the line, "God is dead." Was his collapse a coincidence? Or was it the price of staring too long into ideas most people are too afraid to face? This is Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was, by most accounts, a lonely and physically fragile man. Chronic migraines, near blindness, digestive illness that plagued him for decades. He never married, resigned from his university post in his mid-30s due to poor health, and spent much of his remaining life wandering between boarding houses in Switzerland and Italy, writing in isolation. And yet from that isolation came ideas that would reshape philosophy, psychology, and literature for the next century. He wasn't trying to build a comforting worldview. He was doing something much harder, tearing down the comfortable illusions people use to avoid confronting reality and asking what's left standing afterward. One of Nietzsche's strangest and most powerful ideas is what he called eternal recurrence. He asks you to imagine this. What if a demon appeared and told you that you would have to live this exact life again? Every joy, every humiliation, every small and large moment, over and over, infinitely, forever, in precisely the same sequence. Would that thought crush you? Or would you be able to say yes to it? This isn't a literal cosmological claim Nietzsche was making. It's a thought experiment, a test. He's asking, are you living a life you'd be willing to relive infinitely? Or are you just getting through it, waiting for something better, treating this life as a rough draft? For Nietzsche, the goal wasn't happiness in the conventional sense. It was to live so fully and deliberately that you could face that demon's question and answer yes. Nietzsche's concept of will to power is probably his most misunderstood idea, partly because it was later distorted by people, including his own sister, to justify things Nietzsche never intended, including early associations with fascist ideology that scholars have since worked hard to correct. What Nietzsche actually meant was closer to a drive present in all living things to grow, expand, and overcome resistance, not necessarily to dominate other people. Think of it less as power over others and more as the internal drive that pushes an artist to master their craft, or a person to overcome a personal weakness. For Nietzsche, the most admirable expression of will to power wasn't conquering others. It was self-overcoming, continually confronting and surpassing your own limitations. He was deeply critical of people who directed this drive outward as cruelty or domination, seeing it as a weaker, more primitive version of what the drive could become when turned inward, toward self-mastery. You've probably heard the line, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," as a gym poster or motivational quote. In its original context in Twilight of the Idols, Nietzsche meant something more specific and more demanding. He wasn't saying suffering automatically makes you stronger, and plenty of people are broken by hardship, not strengthened by it. He was pointing at something closer to this. The way you interpret and respond to difficulty determines whether it becomes fuel or wreckage. Growth from hardship isn't automatic. It requires actively metabolizing the experience, reflecting on it, extracting meaning from it, refusing to be merely a passive victim of it. This distinction matters. Blind endurance isn't the same as growth. Nietzsche was pointing at something more active and deliberate, a demand to do something with your suffering, not just survive it. So how do you use any of this without ending up talking to a horse in the street? Start with the eternal recurrence test. Look honestly at how you're spending your days. If you had to relive this exact week on repeat forever, would that be something you could accept or even want? If not, that's information. It points at exactly what needs to change, not in some distant future someday, but starting now. Second, Redirect your own will to power inward before you direct it outward. Instead of asking, how do I get ahead of other people? Ask, what personal limitation am I ready to overcome this month? Nietzsche's healthiest version of ambition was always self-directed first. Third, when hardship hits, don't just wait to see if it makes you stronger by default. Actively work the experience. Write about it. Talk it through. Extract a specific lesson from it. That active processing is the difference between hardship that scars you and hardship that changes your direction for the better. Nietzsche paid an enormous personal price for the honesty of his thinking. He refused easy comfort, and it's fair to wonder whether that refusal contributed to his final collapse. But the ideas he left behind still ask each of us the same uncomfortable question. Are you actually living or just enduring? If ideas like this are useful to you, subscribe. Every week on Ancient Minds, we go inside the minds of history's greatest thinkers. Next week, Carl Jung and the part of your own mind you've been avoiding, the shadow. See you then!